Well, Erin, thanks for joining us in a special edition of Small Business Saturday. And we love that so many of our alumni have their own businesses, including yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
So tell us a little bit about, well, you graduated in 2018, but you're already working and have your own business and your own company, which is fantastic.
Yeah. So after becoming a dietitian, I kind of went back and forth with the idea of, working with in a clinical position, as most dietitians do. And I just had some really great mentors along the way. And one of those being my mom, who's always had a very entrepreneurial mindset, who taught me to start my own dog walking business when I was a kid. So that was kind of my mindset much of my life. So when I became a dietitian, I knew that a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do in terms of, really helping people get to the root cause of their health issues required me to kind of have the freedom, and ability to kind of coach individuals on my own. So it's been a blessing and I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah, Nutrition Rewired is the name. Great website. What I noticed too is that so versatile what you're doing. I mean, you have recipes, but I like how you have podcasts, and your website just has everything that anyone needed. And I think it's important for nutrition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I take a holistic approach with just the one-on-one coaching that I do, but I also, really like to try to tailor my messaging to all different types of individuals, on different platforms. Social media has been a huge blessing to my business. It's free marketing essentially.
Yep.
And it's a great way to connect with other people. And especially during the pandemic, right? So many people were now switching towards listening to podcasts. They were walking outside more. So the last year was actually when I did the podcast, but I also use Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, and have been able to really connect with others through those platforms in all different various aspects of life, which has been great.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it's very easy to look at. I know in your field, there's a lot of things on the internet that maybe you shouldn't do, but is open up the avenue where there are a lot of professionals that I found that do know what they're doing, have been very helpful.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think sifting through misinformation can be very challenging. And with any sort of information that I put out as a dietitian, I always try to be very evidence-based. Citing research articles, much of what we were taught to do in school as dietitians. People think we just talk about food all day, right? And we talk about food, but, from a very clinical perspective and from a science rooted approach. So I really like to make sure that I'm citing references and just supporting what I say with research.
And how instrumental was Framingham State in launching your career?
Yeah, very instrumental. I think, the big point for me of getting that master's degree was it just kind of took my education to the next level and allowed me to, I would say some of the classes that I took there, specifically like human nutrition science, my professor there was incredible. And I just remember being so interested in that subject and taking so much out of human physiology. And one of the things that he always did was really look back to the research and kind of say, what are we seeing in terms of messages in the media? And let's kind of dig through what that looks like in the research. And that will always stay with me because that class especially was a huge thing that I've carried into my practice and the way that I operate with social media and just clients one-on-one.
Yeah, it seems like this field is actually grown a lot more when we have learned that some of the habits we've had eating wise when we were younger weren't so great.
Yeah. It's one of those things. The reason why I chose the business name, the Rewiring, really stemmed from a lot of people feeling very confused about nutrition and maybe having grown up in a certain mindset of what food should look like or how they should behave around certain foods or, working on emotions and food in combination. So this idea of rewiring is really, starting fresh almost, or kind of creating a new message for each individual about how we think of nutrition and how we can view it from an aspect of mental health, not just physical health, how we can view it as something that brings joy to our lives and is not from a message of diet culture, for example, of, eat this and do this so that you can look this way. More
Sure.
so, that message of mental health is really important to me.
And you provide great services one-on-one. It's really easy if people just go to your website, right? That's the best way.
Yeah. So booking a discovery call with me is the best way. I also, I started a group coaching program this year, which has been a really great addition to my practice. So it's a very small group of individuals, and we, come together every week for an hour. And there's kind of a curriculum that I've set for this program, and it's called Rewire Your Gut. So it's really focusing on optimizing digestion, your microbiome, and really establishing healthy habits that people maybe don't see on the mainstream media, or don't get information like this from just a nutritionist or from their primary care. This is really, cutting edge information to optimize their health and wellness. I also do corporate talks, all around the United States for big companies. I'm a holistic cannabis practitioner, so I have my own line of CBD oil products that have been lab tested. And I've written 2 cookbooks. So I've
Nice.
done a lot of really fun things, and have some great, we'll call them adjuncts to my practice.
And we hope that some current students or alumni reach out to you too.
Yeah. I would welcome them to. I love, I take interns as well. So
Great.
if people want to learn how to kind of get a business going, or are interested in becoming a dietitian or nutritionist, I'm very happy to chat about that.
Okay, so then I got a good question. Like, what are some of the most overrated things that you hear someone tell you that's completely not true when we talk about nutrition?
I would say the number one thing is that carbs are bad, like that
Yeah.
blanket
Yep.
statement that all carbohydrates are bad, because especially when it comes to digestion and feeding the microbiome, a lot of these carbohydrates can be very healthy and good for our health overall. So all carbohydrates are not bad. It's the quantity that we're eating them in, it's the context that we're eating them in, balancing out meals. So that would be number one. I would say number two would probably be the timing of meals. So I think intermittent fasting has become really popular, or, you can't eat after a certain time at night or else it's going to turn to fat, for example.
Yeah.
Those are all myths in
Okay.
the nutrition industry. You can eat at night. It's more of what are you eating?
Sure.
So fasting is another one that's become very popular. And much of the research on fasting has been done in animals or men, and really doesn't translate into large scale population implementation. So, not a huge fan, but it can work for some people just in terms of controlling what they eat and reducing calories. And I do believe that that's one of the main reasons why people like it. But don't be afraid to eat, nice healthy snack at night before bed.
Yeah, I've heard people compare your body to a really nice car. If you didn't put the proper gas and oil in it, relating it to fasting, the car wouldn't run well, right?
Yeah. No, it's true. That's the best. Honestly, that's probably the best analogy to use when it comes to fueling your body.
Okay, so if someone wanted to get started in what you do, what you just went for it, right? Because we have
Well,
watching. I want them to be inspired by you.
yeah. So to be honest, I started thinking about this business model, or just, it's not even necessarily the business model that I started thinking about, but I was passionate about this subject long before I took the exam to become a dietitian. So I knew I wanted to help people. And so I started doing that. So my biggest inspiration to anyone that's thinking about starting something is to start it now. There's no reason to wait until you've graduated, or until you've got a certification. Obviously, you have to stay within your boundaries if you're not certified for something in particular. But if there are things that you can do now to start building your business or start helping people, maybe you do it for free if it's not legal to charge. Start doing talks about, something that you're passionate about, or that you can teach people, family members, friends, start using those people as your clients. And that's what I did. I started helping individuals in my family or friends, and starting to develop, meal plans for them, and coaching them, and doing things like that, so that by the time I became a dietitian, I was like, I've been doing this for so long. I know how to interact with people. And I was also essentially doing market research, learning what people need, like what are people struggling with. And my social media presence was already there, not where it is now, but I was on social media, sharing what I love, sharing recipes, sharing tips, sharing my own lifestyle practices and things like that. And that over time, I'm so glad that I started all of that sooner, because had I waited, I just would have set myself back even more. So if you don't think you're ready, you're never going to think you're ready. So always just start now.
That's great inspiration. So it's nutritionrewired.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Erin at nutritionwired.com for the email as well.
Yes, Erin at Nutrition Rewired. People forget the rewired part.
Yeah. Well, great stuff. Happy holidays, and thanks for doing this.
Yeah, same to you, Michael.